Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are totally decoding the DNA of financial success. We're going to break down the 5 foundational rules for wealth, relying on some of the most famous financial philosophies out there, and then we're going to critically examine them. So, if you've ever wondered what actually separates the financially secure from everyone else, you are in the exact right place.
Okay, so how can I get rich quick? Look, it's totally human nature to ask this, right? But according to our sources, asking this exact question is actually a massive red flag for your financial intelligence. True wealth isn't a lottery ticket or an overnight success story. It isn't even really about how much money you make at your day job. It is entirely about how much money you keep and what you do with it once you have it.
All right, here's our roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with escaping the rat race. Then we'll dive right into our core topic, the 5 rules for wealth. After that, we'll decode assets versus liabilities, learn to pay yourself first, and finally wrap it all up with an objective, critical reality check.
Section 1. Escaping the rat race. From a really young age, we're all taught this super traditional formula. Go to school, get a secure job, and work hard. But, simply earning a high salary absolutely doesn't guarantee you'll escape that paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. The poor or middle-class mindset focuses almost entirely on job security and trading hours for a paycheck. It's essentially running endlessly on a rat wheel. If you want more money, well, you just have to run faster and work longer. The wealthy mindset, however, flips the script completely. Instead of relying purely on a salary, they focus on acquiring assets that make money work for them in the background, freeing up their absolute most valuable resource, their time.
Moving on to Section 2, the 5 rules for wealth.
So how exactly do we actually make that massive mindset shift? Well, it all boils down to 5 distinct rules for wealth derived from the classic financial philosophy of rich dad, poor dad. Rule 1. Distinguish assets from liabilities. It sounds simple, I know, but getting this definition wrong is exactly why high earners often go broke. We're going to do a deep dive on this specific rule in just a second. Rule 2. Make money work for you. Instead of letting your cash sit lazy in a checking account getting eaten by inflation, you must deploy every single dollar as a tiny employee whose sole job is to go out and earn more dollars. Rule 3. Remember that your mindset matters way more than your income. A higher salary just leads to higher expenses if you haven't fundamentally changed how you view money. You've got to see it as a tool for freedom, not just a way to buy more stuff. Rule 4. Learn financial literacy. You just have to understand the numbers, read a basic balance sheet, and understand the tax code to truly build wealth. And Rule 5. Take calculated, intelligent risks. Most people let the fear of losing money keep them playing it totally safe, but true wealth requires moving past that fear to take educated leaps. These 5 steps systematically shift your focus from simply chasing a raise to strategically leveraging every single opportunity.
Robert Kiyosaki actually puts it perfectly here. He says, a person can be highly educated, professionally successful, and financially illiterate. And wow, isn't that the truth? Traditional schools are, frankly, amazing at teaching us how to be great employees. They teach us how to study, follow rules, and work for a paycheck. But they leave us entirely in the dark about the actual mechanics of money. This makes Rule 4, financial literacy, a lifelong independent study project.
Which brings us to Section 3, assets versus liabilities.
Now, this concept is the absolute bedrock of that very first wealth rule. Honestly, if you only take away one single thing from this entire explainer, let it be this definition. Simply put, an asset is something that puts money into your pocket whether you are awake, asleep, or on a month-long vacation. Think of a rental property that generates positive cash flow on the first of every month, a profitable business you own, or stocks that literally pay you regular dividends.
Conversely, a liability takes money out of your pocket. And look, sorry to break it to you, but this is exactly where so many people get tripped up. That massive dream house or that brand new luxury car, they require constant mortgage payments, massive insurance premiums, taxes, and endless maintenance. They are liabilities masquerading as assets. Countless people trap themselves in the rat race by buying heavy liabilities, totally convinced they are making solid financial investments.
So let's look at how the wealthy actually apply this in the real world. Instead of cutting expenses and immediately saying, "Oh, I can't afford this," they train their brains to ask, "How can I afford this?" For example, the source material shares this fascinating anecdote about Kim Kiyosaki. She wanted a beautiful, very expensive 60-foot sailboat. Now, instead of just buying it outright and letting a massive liability drain their accounts, they bought the boat and put it right into a charter company.
The cash flow from the charter business paid for the financing, the maintenance, the docking fees, the whole shebang. They essentially acquired a cash-flowing asset to completely pay for their luxury.
All right, Section 4, paying yourself first.
So how do you actually find the cash to buy those assets in the first place? Well, it requires breaking a really deeply ingrained psychological habit. Traditional budgeting tells us to pay everyone else first. You pay the landlord, the credit card company, the utility bills, and then you try to save whatever is left over, which, let's be honest, is usually nothing. The wealth habit is paying yourself first. You invest in your asset column the very second you get paid. You transfer the money out of sight, and then you basically force yourself to get creative and adapt to live on whatever is remaining.
A super helpful framework to make this completely automatic is Thrivent's 80-20 rule. You transfer 20% of your income straight into savings and investments, right off the top. Boom, done. You then force yourself to adapt your lifestyle and live comfortably on the remaining 80%.
Or, if you want to get a bit more granular with it, try the 10-10-10 plan. You systematically allocate 10% for investing in hard assets like real estate or index funds, put 10% into an emergency savings bucket, and dedicate 10% to give back to charity. That leaves a perfectly structured 70% for your day-to-day living expenses.
Now, if you're sitting there thinking, but I just don't have enough capital to start, consider this brilliant metaphor from State Street Advisors. Investing your first $100 is literally exactly like going to the gym for the first time. You don't walk in and try to bench press 300 pounds on day one. The goal is simply to build the routine. Investing early is about building the financial muscle memory so that compound interest can step in and do the incredibly heavy lifting for you down the road.
And finally, Section 5, the critical reality check.
As wildly motivating as those 5 rules for wealth are, it is our job to look at the complete picture. Personal finance expert Ramit Sethi offers a really vital, highly objective critique of the whole rich dad, poor dad philosophy. He points out that while the mindset shifts around assets and liabilities are incredible, they are unfortunately buried in a treasure chest right alongside some highly questionable and potentially dangerous financial advice.
Let's take a neutral look at some of these specific red flags. The source material often promotes complex real estate investing as if it's just completely effortless for beginners, heavily glossing over the massive financial risks of debt. It casually recommends highly speculative investments like penny stocks. Alarmingly, it actually endorses multi-level marketing, or MLMs, as a legitimate environment to learn sales. Furthermore, the philosophy largely lacks concrete, actionable budget steps, and frequently uses a dismissive, unempathetic tone when discussing systemic poverty. Now, we're not taking sides here, but it's absolutely vital to understand these critiques so you have the full balanced picture.
This serves as a really powerful reminder to always remain critical of financial gurus. Sethi warns, good advice comes from real experience, not just flashy talk. Make sure the people you're learning from actually walk the walk. Demand transparency and actionable, math-backed steps, rather than just getting swept up in motivational hype. Ultimately, the core lesson that actually stands up to scrutiny across every single source we analyzed is the undeniable power of building your asset column. Understanding how money works and making it work for you is for sure the clearest path out of the rat race. So, I'm going to leave you with this challenge today. What new assets are you building right now?